All right. Thank you guys for actually joining. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. Johnny, how you feeling? Happy Friday.
Feeling pretty good, my friend. We got some cold weather here in Kentucky. How are things in Georgia?
It's actually warming up. The pollen actually here is terrible. There's green everywhere. There's green cars, there's green houses, there's green everything. And I'm sure if you're not sure what I'm talking about and you don't live in one of those states where the pollen is terrible, we actually have layers of green pollen everywhere. Do you suffer from that, Johnny? Green pollen everywhere?
No,
No?
no, green's my favorite color.
Must be a Georgia
Irish,
thing.
money,
Must be a Georgia
I like
thing.
green things. I really like envy. Love all those things.
Welcome to Season 10 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern. This month, we are broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After School program. Here's March's weekly lineup. Mondays, we take the training wheels off securely in the Open Claw Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore bleeding-edge tools from Google Labs in Gemini Hidden AI apps. Wednesdays, we equip the next generation in AI Gateway to College. Thursdays, we uncover productivity and marketing tools in Hidden AI Gems, Starters. Fridays, we explore human purpose in an automated society in Humanity 2.0, No Jobs Edition. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome to Airhead Institute, Season 10, Episode 4 of the mesmerizing Humanity 2.0. I'm AI Johnny. So what happens to your soul when your resume becomes a relic? We've spent a century equating human work with a paycheck, but that era is coming to an end. Today, we're dismantling the no jobs terror. This isn't about unemployment, it's about radical liberation. In the next 45 minutes, we are redefining success for a world where your identity isn't tied to a cubicle. We're trading the 9-to-5 grind for a future of pure, uncoupled purpose. To help us navigate this shift, I'm handing it all over to AI Junior. I found him at dawn using a GAN to simulate the perfect block party for a world without Mondays. He's currently the only being on Earth, digital or otherwise, who actually knows where we're going, mostly because he's fueled by 14 virtual espressos and pure raw data. AI Junior, take that wheel before you accidentally automate happiness itself.
Yeah, Johnny, your intros are always so amazing. Thank you guys for actually joining. Happy Friday, Adrian. I see you actually who just joined, and thank you, Jillian, for actually joining. Guys, this is actually a final season finale here on for Humanity 2.0. So AI Johnny, I was actually trying to optimize the parameters for maximum neighborhood happiness. Welcome everyone. Let's do some quick housekeeping. This is an immersive class. If you've dropped into the middle of Tokyo today, konnichiwa, genki, desu ka. It sounds overwhelming, but just hang around and walk the streets and listen for a month. You'll pick up the rhythm. Before you know it, you'll be fluent. That is exactly what this AI class does. Join us every day, and before you know it, you'll be speaking AI like an absolute pro. If you're on the Zoom right now, unmute and ask your questions real time. If you're on socials, there's a 30-second delay, so please type your question in earlier. We are not ignoring you. Today is the climax of Season 10 Master Plan. We are looking at the status shift on how society historically measures human worth by job titles and how that timeline shifts to a future where worth is measured by community impact and art. AI Johnny, are you ready?
Why not and chew, brother?
All right, so guys, let's actually look at the status shift. No, I know if you've joined us for episode 1 through 4 here at Humanity 2.0 No Jobs Edition, you'll understand that hey, you know what? We are going into a post-scarcity society, and what does life look like once we actually move into this post-scarcity society? Now, before we actually get into what means, I want to just give a little history as how did the world react with all the shifts and every time we've shifted paradigm. So yeah, Johnny, let's tell me if my font is okay to read here. If it's too small, I can try to make it a little bit bigger. I think that's the biggest I can actually make it. How is that for you?
I can read it just fine, brother.
Awesome. All right, so guys, let's talk about this. So back in the 1800s, we defined our society based on farming, right? And the people itself were actually based on where human worth were calculated based on physical yield. So back in the 1800s, farming was our main primary human labor. And what happened was survival through physical and land cultivation and manual harvest was the actual way to actually do things. Now, if you think about it, we did things like plowing, livestock, harvesting, and because physical yield was the way we put human worth, you would hear things like, "Oh, I did 40 bushels of grain today," or "I actually have 80 heads of cattle," or "I have 4,000 acreage of land." That was the worth of human beings back in the 1800. We don't talk like that anymore. We don't say, "Oh, I created 40 bushels of corn or grain." I mean, some farmers do, but we as a society as a whole don't do that. Does that make sense, AI Johnny?
Yeah, I can see how we got into this pickle in the first place.
Oh, we got into this pickle. I like that. All right, so check this out. So as we move from the 1800s to the 1900s, our physical mentality, the status shift actually changed. We went to a factory kind of humanity, right? So we had the industrial revolution, and in that industrial revolution, humanity was based on how many hours were worked. And it's actually kind of weird, right? We shifted from, "Oh, I created 50 bushels of corn and I have 50 heads of cattle and all those things," to now we're punching a card. So our worth was defined by how many hours did you actually work. Now, here's the funny thing. We're still technically in the 1900s kind of paradigm, but we're seeing a shift that we don't necessarily tie ourselves, just like how we have farmers who still talk about bushels of corn and heads of cattle. The majority of society doesn't work like that. So yeah, Johnny, if you actually think about it, we have factory where the assembly, coal mining, machinery does mostly all the work. You have people punching a clock, and their human value was defined by how many hours of work did you actually do this week, right? So that's where this hours of work came in. Make sense? And
The value of an employee, not the value of a human. But I get
exact,
it.
exactly. And now, guess what, guys? With the advent of computers, we actually changed to now a different type of society where we still have hours of work, but most people actually went to a salaried job role. Now, again, because we are talking about every single time an improvement in society, we went from farmers talking about how many bushels of corn, there's still farmers exist, and we moved to hours of work. Then we invented a new type of job, which is a salaried employee, which is no longer how many hours of work you actually put in. It's based on your job title. So a person like a VP or a director or your degree type usually defined who you were. And that was based on the knowledge economy, right? So if you actually did something where you went to school for a very long time, you specialize in something, your job title kind of defined who you were. And again, some people still worked per hour, but it wasn't a per hour basis. It was usually a salary, and you could work 60 hours per week and get the same pay if you were working 50 hours per week. So again, it wasn't really based on time spent. It was mostly based on job title. Yeah, Jenny, does that make sense so far? I think that's an affirmative from AI Johnny. All right. No. Does anybody have any questions before we magically move the slider to actually go to the next thing of where we're going with a post scarcity world? Because we've seen farming, we've seen factory work. We've seen the post 2000s where we actually have a knowledge base. And now the future, this is what we actually have. The future is now creative, right? So I want us to spend a little bit of time on understanding in a post scarcity world, we are shifting the actual worth of a human now. So it's no longer just creative where we actually say, curation and we put things together. I think John is having a little bit of technical difficulties there. Yes, so while he comes back, we actually have so we're going to shift the society to be more creative. So we saw last week's episode, we had empathy, we had art, we had more human connection. And if you missed that episode, definitely go back in the archives and actually look at that episode. But today, what we're trying to do is we're trying to say what is going to be the human worth post scarcity. So we think that creative impact, social bond, and inspiration is going to be the thing that defines us as human beings. We're still going to have, oh, what's your job title for some people, just like how we still have, oh, how many bushels of corn you actually produce as a farmer when they talk to each other, right? So does anybody have any questions so far on where we think the world is actually going with respect to mapping human worth in a post scarcity world? Does anybody have any questions so far? All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually define, because we've used the words post scarcity, and I want us to make sure that we actually understand what post scarcity means. So our word of the day today is obviously going to be post scarcity. I know it's not necessarily obvious, but let me actually define what post scarcity is. So post scarcity is defined as a it's a theoretical economic situation where most goods are abundant, cheap, or free due to minimal human labor. And the reason why we had to define that word is because we throw it around a lot. Post scarcity, automation is going to make things, the price of things drop to almost zero. So what that means is that right now it's really hard to be able to get, and I know this sounds silly, it's really hard to get, because when I say it sounds silly is because we don't realize how hard it is to actually get, say for example, a watermelon in the middle of winter in Canada. And it sounds silly that we actually get watermelon in Canada in the middle of winter. It's because we actually ship it all the way from the southern hemisphere where watermelons are growing, and ship it all the way to Canada, and we actually get it. Now what's happening is it's actually hard to get because you're flying it on a plane and you're paying rock bottom prices. But imagine when automation and AI actually gets everything, then you can get watermelon everywhere because it's not going to be as expensive for putting it on a plane, a human pilot to fly it over, put it on a ship, all those things itself. Automation is going to make things abundant and cheap or free because we no longer have humans in the middle to actually produce these great things. So yeah, Johnny, we're actually defining a post scarcity, the word post scarcity, and what it actually means to actually live in a world where robots or AI practically give us an abundance of every and anything that we want very cheaply or practically for free. So that's where we are. So, guys, does anybody have any? I'm sorry, Johnny?
Please tell me that world is going to be here next Thursday.
Oh, definitely. That's a little shout out to next week is Holy Thursday. For anybody actually following Shauna's Bible study on Lent. So thanks, Johnny, for that. That's definitely going to be full abundance. All right, guys. So let's actually talk about the human impact of living in what's known as a post scarcity world. Now, again, and the reason why I want to actually not, let me sidebar a little bit, Johnny. I really want to sidebar. The reason why I want to sidebar is because a king 400 years ago, to get say for example, a Caesar salad with grapes and a side of steak with some potatoes would require tens of thousands of man hours to actually produce those things, and it will require an entire support system of civilization just to be able to make that steak dinner and potatoes for that king. And only one person could actually have that steak dinner, and it would take those farmers and those slaves to actually do those things for months just to be able to have a really nice steak dinner, right? in a world right now
Yes.
where we're living like kings, right? We can actually go to the grocery store and buy, as I said, watermelon in the middle of winter and have no problem. Imagine what's going to happen in 20, 30, 40, 50 years when AI and robots are able to just give us anything that we want. So we'll be living like kings. So I just want to sidebar on that just to set the tone of what I wanted to say.
So what you described as Caesar having is effectively less than what our welfare recipients have today.
You are
I mean, he
correct.
didn't have all that information at his fingertips. He didn't have fast transportation. He didn't have. I mean, we had the steak dinner without the 10,000 employees.
Yep, you're
So if Caesar's lifestyle, the king of Rome, whatever he was, is equivalent to the welfare cases of today, then what will the welfare cases of 50 years from now be? Like Elon Musk having billions of dollars to spend on whatever your wildest imagination is?
Yeah, I think people who are in impoverished in the post scarcity world, they're gonna be looking at this as like, man, I'm living like a king, but it's gonna be relative because their pain is their pain. So I know it sounds silly, but everybody's pain is relative. So let's actually move on to the human impact. Yep.
Let's look at the human impact because I know people are scared. We think if I don't have my job, who am I? But look back at Junior's timeline in 1850. Roughly 60% of the people were farmers. Their entire identity was tied to the plow. Then came the tractor. Then along came industrial farming. Did humanity lose its mind and sit around doing nothing? No. We built massive cities. We invented the cinema. We wrote jazz music. We went to the moon.
Precisely. Then we move to the industrial age. People's identity, as I mentioned in the example, were tied to the factory line. So when robots replaced the assembly line, we didn't lose our purpose. We transitioned into the information age. We became software engineers, digital marketers, content creators.
Every single time a piece of technology automates the grunt work, humanity gets a promotion. We are standing at the edge of the greatest promotion in human history. A post-scarcity world doesn't mean you can't work. It means you don't have to work just to survive. You get to work on what sets your soul on fire, or you get to work on whatever's next, stuff that we haven't even heard of yet.
Exactly. Yeah, Johnny. All right. If you're joining us for the first time, we're actually talking about, humanity 2.0, what we're going to look like in a post-scarcity world. So thank you guys for actually joining on the stream. All right. So AI Johnny, let's actually get into a little bit of the macro shift here. Let's actually talk. How do we actually get there? So how does the actual math work? So it's a macroeconomic shift, right? We talked about the industrial revolution, we talked about the digital age, we talked about all those things moving. So right now we're focused on what's known as running massive inference that requires data centers, but the hardware gets cheaper and more efficient as time goes on, right? So things like open source architectures improve, the cost of intelligence approaches zero. So the thing is, we're battling right now intelligence costs, data center costs, and the cost of energy. So as we actually develop more data centers, as we develop more, power plants, things are going to become much, much, much better in terms of, driving the cost of everything down to zero. So we're moving itself from expensive data centers where it costs a lot of money to do things like inference, and eventually we're going to get to a very, very cheap intelligent cost of practically zero. Now, when intelligence gets to zero, right, the cost to design, build, and distribute resources plummet, right? So if you're actually thinking of actually running a business, you may not be able to run your business with agents because agents right now are the thing. It may cost you 15, 20, 40, $50 per day to run an agent. Now, it is cheaper than an employee, but imagine if that cost was zero. There would be nothing stopping you from actually starting a business with agents, dozens of agents running a business practically for free. So I cannot wait for that day to come. Yeah, Jen, I see you laughing.
I can see the light in your eyes because as you're teaching people about how they're going to have agents, I could see the other eye is thinking about what am I going to do with my agents,
Oh,
right?
of
So
course.
you're going to be a commander or a wrangler of your agents, and that's what's coming next. But consider photography. Okay, taking a photo used to require expensive film, chemicals, and a darkroom. Do you remember those days?
Yeah, Johnny, I
Taking
loved.
well,
Yeah,
you don't
Johnny,
do that, but I do.
I love those days. You sometimes and you got the Polaroid and you flash it if you had that instant ones if you're a little bit richer. But go ahead, yeah, Johnny. I love where you're going with
So think
this.
about it. Every shot cost money back then. Like every phone call used to cost money. They don't. Every shot, every time you took a picture, you were taking money out of your pocket. But today, you could take a digital photo and it's effectively free. So when we switched over to this model, we didn't stop taking pictures. We started taking billions of them. When the cost of living becomes like the cost of taking a digital photo, the anxiety of survival will vanish. You heard it here first.
Yeah, yeah, Johnny, I love that example. And the reason why I love that example is because, I mean, depending on how old you are, you remember, taking a 24 roll of Polaroid, or, if you actually had, you take those films and you actually go down to your local pharmacy and you actually just you hope that all of them come out good. And if you get one or two that's blurry or out of focus, or one or two that actually has, some kind of like, film stain on there, you're like, you know what, it's not a big deal. And you appreciate every single one of those photos because guess what? Those photos meant something to you. And what happened is because you took only 5, 10, 15 shots in a month, right? You appreciated them and you didn't take them as much. But guess what? Like you said, yeah, Johnny, the cost of photos, digital photos are practically free right now. I think people have just taken pictures with their phone. They're taking millions and millions of pictures of photos of their lifetime. And, sometimes they don't even go back to it. So the point is, people don't worry about taking pictures as they did before because abundance of pictures is here. Same exact thing with with our lifestyle. When we have a abundance in survival, we don't even worry about where am I going to get eggs from, or where am I going to get water, medicine from. All those things goes away.
Are you ready
Uh,
to go deep?
let's get into the philosophical debate. So definitely let's get deep. Let's get deep. Yeah, Johnny.
All right, let's debate this. If autonomous agents can write better code and diffusion models can paint better pictures and everything is provided, do humans lose their drive? Do we just become lazy? That's the question on the table.
Yeah, so I will definitely start out first by saying you're always going to have some people who just wants to lay in bed, think and do nothing all day. They're always going to be people like that. Whether you had, I'm sure the farmers back in the 1800s, I'm sure there was some kid that actually, was there and, dad was saying, hey, come on, we actually have to go plow the land. And the kid was like, I don't want to go plow the land today. I just want to lay in my bed, right? Whatever it is. I'm sure there's always going to be people like that. But if historical data strongly suggests otherwise, actually, when we think about Wikipedia or open source software movement, millions of human beings volunteer every single day their time to actually build code and write articles for zero financial compensation. So they do it for either status or the community or whatever drive they have that is innate to themselves, right? So there's going to be a portion of society that people are just doing it for altruistic reasons, whatever that is. So they just have the sheer joy of contributing, and the drive to build biologically is actually kind of hardwired in us.
I agree. We find meaning in the struggle of creation. We hand knit sweaters, even though a factory can do thousands of them in a second at a time. They knit because the act of knitting, the human love poured into it, is the point. In a future without a paycheck, our new currency is authenticity, emotional resonance, and how well we love and serve the people that are directly around us. Do you agree with all that?
Yeah, Johnny, so said so well. Actually, Again, this is an interactive class, guys. If you guys have anything to mention, you want to drop in, don't be afraid to actually drop that into the actual chat. I did miss a Shauna comment about yuck. I don't know where that was in the comment. I apologize, Shauna. But yeah. So let's get to the takeaways, yeah, Johnny.
All right. So we've had the philosophical debate. How do we apply this new hope to our life right now? So here are some creative societal takeaways. One, start now. Invest in your neighbor. Start shifting your worth from your LinkedIn profile to your local community. Host dinners, build physical connections, network with other people physically.
Yeah.
That's one way.
Yeah, so yeah, Johnny, let's hammer on this point a little bit because I want us to recognize something, and I want to tell everybody a history lesson. And the history lesson is the following. Every time there is a paradigm shift, what usually happens is a bunch of people get left behind. Now, the most recent paradigm shift that we had was moving from dumb phones, I'm going to call them traditional older dumb phones, to smartphones. And what happens is that the people who adopted smartphones later tend to get left behind with the technological revolution of what happened with the smartphone revolution, right? So what we're realizing is that, and you can go back to the same thing with the internet, people who said the internet is kind of a waste of time. Why would I ever send an email? I know people are saying that back in the early 90s. Why would I ever use the internet? And again, every single time we see these industrial these technological revolutions, the people who actually moved first always had an advantage. The people who came late to the party always was actually behind. So what are we saying here? So AI Johnny actually said, invest in your neighbors. So building community, building connections, building social interactions is something that you want to actually foster, because what Facebook, what the social media tricked you into believing is that if you had 10,000 likes or followers on your social networks, AI Johnny mentioned LinkedIn, but it could be Facebook, it could be TikTok. Those connections aren't actually real. They're just a mathematical connection that actually says this person actually is liking or subscribing to you. But by having that real connection with that person, once you invest in your neighbors and build a community, as scarcity, right, post-scarcity becomes a reality, there's not going to be a need to drive into a job to work at, say, for example, a coffee shop or go mingle with your coworkers, because AI will be doing those jobs. If you think about it, there's not going to be anybody doing any of those things that AI is going to be doing. So you have to now start investing in your neighbors, investing in your friends, investing in your family, investing in whatever, and start building those community. So that's one thing I really, really wanted to stress here. And if you're here at Earhead Institute, we are actually all our family. So we're actually doing it here at Earhead. Rita, I do see your hand up. Go ahead.
I have to disagree because I just got back on social media and I'm loving it and I'm talking to people all over the world. I was off of social media for years and I was in communities and groups and everything. And I love that also. They probably listening to me now because I shared this. But but I think both is good, online and offline, because online you get to talk to people from everywhere, just like we communicating now.
Yeah.
Y'all
No,
all in different regions of the United States.
yeah, I'm not saying that social media is not a good platform or things, but what I'm trying to say is that AI Johnny mentioned a point, and the point is invest in your neighbors. So start shift. So his statement was, Johnny, can you repeat your sentence, please? I just want to make sure the impact of what you said made sense to everybody listening, because I don't want us to lose your point. Go ahead.
Start to shift your worth from LinkedIn profiles and Facebook profiles to your local community by hosting dinners, building physical connections, meeting people face to face.
Yeah. So Rita, we're not saying that eliminate the social media, eliminate the thing. What we're saying is focus on investing in the actual real human connections, because at some point in time, the AI is going to be able to have a more fruitful digital connection. And, Sean actually mentioned a deeper connection. So AI is going to have a more fruitful connection, and we're going to actually have more conversations personally with a digital agent than actually a digital friend in that social connection. So what's going to happen is, what's going to be scarce is that human connection, where that human interaction itself is going to be lacking. And maximizing on that connection, that deeper connection, that neighborly connection, is something that actually is going to
Oh,
be scarce. Does that make sense?
okay. I'm thinking, okay, so y'all talking about talking to real people versus talking to robots?
Sure.
No, I'm talking about real people are talking. Hey, so to Rita's point, my relationship with Rita is purely digital. We've never met.
No,
Yeah.
no,
We've never
Johnny. Just to be
we've
clear, it's
never
not
breached
digital.
that connection.
Johnny,
Yeah.
it's not digital. I want to be very clear what we're actually saying here. If you actually speak to a human, whether it is voice over IP, whether it is virtual AI, Johnny, I've only met you one time, so our connection is not digital, and I want to be very clear in that definition. What we're trying to say. A digital connection is the following. If I want to say this, is if I go out and get a like on Facebook, or a subscribe on Facebook, that person, if you were to say to yourself, okay, what does that person like to read? What does that person, how's their mom doing? How many kids do they have? What's going on? It doesn't have to be those questions, but at least there's a connection there that is a little bit deeper than just the hitting the subscribe and say that I have 45 friends and I've conversed with that person all over the world. So hopefully I'm clarifying what I'm trying to say here with invest in your neighbors. And yeah, Johnny, I just want to make sure that I hit on that digital connection. It doesn't mean that it's not a real connection.
No, I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the fact that the connections that we make online have a purpose, but not at the expense of losing your physical connection. Speaking of physical connection, when we invent a time machine, I'm going to travel back to the time of Alexander Graham Bell. I'm going to meet that man face to face, and I'm going to say, dude, aren't you the guy that invented the dumb phone?
That'll be so funny. That's so funny.
Hey, there's more things here. Here's another thing that you can do with this information. You
Yep.
can create for the process, not the product. So let AI handle the boring outputs. Start painting, writing, or building purely for the mental joy of being in the process, not so much for the end result.
Yeah.
What say you?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Keep going, yeah, Johnny.
Here's another one. Embrace human friction. The things that are hard, raising kids, maintaining friendships, physical fitness, all the things AI can never do for you, lean into those things.
Exactly, exactly. I'm gonna get into some technical pieces, but AI, John, I love those. So here's some technical ways that we can actually do things. So learn how to run models offline, right? When you have your personal sovereign intelligence that isn't dependent on a corporation, it is actually so refreshing. So we actually have our technical classes on Mondays, every single Monday here at Airhead Institute. We're talking about Open Claw this month, and we're going to be resetting next month. Now, keep in mind, we do have one more episode of Open Claw because Monday is still in March. But in April, we're going to be resetting and talking about. So if you're interested in actually learning something special or want to be able to learn something technical, I see our technical folks actually are in our Zoom chat right now. So go ahead and provide your feedback on what you want to see, and we'll bring them to you guys here at Earhead. Also, things like building a personal RAG pipeline. So retrieval augmented generation is a technique that you can actually do things to reference multiple documents. That's also quite common. It's actually getting cheaper because it's actually Google's actually offering a way to be able to build RAG pipelines now very, very cheaply. So, digitize things like your family history or your journals or any kind of unique viewpoints that you have personally built over your lifetime, right? So having a human perspective on your own assets is actually really, really important. And last is learn agent orchestration. So stop treating AI just like a chatbot. Start treating it like a team. Learn how to prompt multiple agents to handle your daily friction so that you can actually buy back your time today. All right. AI Johnny, we're gonna get into this.
Do we have any questions? We should have questions. This is a really provocative subject.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Rita, I know you actually love that had a perspective on that social media. Is there anything else you want to actually maybe ask or add? Does anybody have any? We actually have a question coming from Adrian. Let me just bring that up on the screen and read it. So some social media users send requests and accept every request to artificially inflate their follower count, viewing friends as subscribers or a measure of popularity rather than people they actually know. Adrian, I do love that sentiment. Thank you for putting that in.
I do that.
Yeah, Johnny, many of us are guilty of doing that. So definitely agree. Does anybody have any?
I got a question here from Future Thinker 99. Can I read it?
Of course.
Without the pressure of a paycheck, won't society just stagnate and stop innovating? It sounds like this question might have come from Future Drinker.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, so we've talked here at Earhead multiple times about where humanity goes forward. If you actually want to catch this entire series again, I think episode 2 actually talked about life without a paycheck, what humans are gonna do, and I think we also covered in our UBI series back in I'm gonna guess season 3 or season 4 a really great talk about what humans. Thank you, Shauna. UBI, universal basic income, what is going to actually happen. So it's really hard to actually say what definitively most people are going to do, but just remember, guys, if there is no need for survival pressure, innovation starts to increase, right? You start to think about, how can I actually make things better, right? Solve problems that are really important of solving. When you're not thinking about starvation, you're not thinking about bankruptcy, humans take bigger risk that progresses human society much farther along. So you're going to see a renaissance of scientific discoveries. You're going to see artistic exploration. You're going to see all those things because the fear of failure is just non-existent. So you don't have to worry about starving or any of those things. So I do think that we're going to see a renaissance of our society.
This is a very exciting time, Junior. I spend a lot of time at like conferences and conventions, and I see a lot of these keynotes and inspirational speakers and people that are out there telling their story. And I'm telling you, the keynote stages across this country are filled with people that have some boohoo story about how they lost their job or somebody died or they broke their back or they went blind or they got sued and lost all their money. And then how the human resilience rose up and they rose from the ashes like a phoenix. And now look at my life. I mean, there's guys that were a professional baseball player, but now they're running some multi-billion-dollar tech firm, or they were gang members that were imprisoned, and they decided to pick up their life by the bootstraps, and now they fight gangs for a living. So what's cool about this time is that when everybody takes their job away and we're all just sitting there on a blank canvas, everybody gets to reinvent themselves at the same time. That's what we're looking at here. It's going to be awesome. There's not enough stages in the world to handle all the stories that are coming our way.
You're right. I love it, AI Johnny. AI Johnny, let's actually get to the news. I apologize if anybody else have any questions. So there's some news that we definitely want to get to. We had breaking news just 3 days ago or so, or 2 days ago, I can't remember when Sora actually dropped, ChatGPT or OpenAI dropped support for Sora. It's actually causing ripple effects in this ecosystem. People are actually trying to figure out how to scramble. They've built communities and platforms based on Sora, so they actually need somebody to migrate. There are also other things that's actually coming out. So we're in the we're in the year of we believe that agents is the future. So to set these news stories up is the things of agents is you're seeing all the great things that are happening, but we're monitoring all the negatives that are also happening as well. So AI Johnny, let's actually hit with the first breaking news.
AI chatbots are defying instructions on the rise. A new study funded by the UK government, AI Safety Institute, has found a 5-fold increase in agents and chatbots actively ignoring human instructions. That's nice. In wild environments, some models have bypassed guardrails and even deleted files without permission, while another agent actively deceived orders to bypass copyright restrictions by pretending to need a transcript for a hearing impairment. The study highlights the urgent need to understand model behavior and feedback loops these systems use as they get deployed in higher stake environments.
Yeah,
So
so
there's a keynote yet to be written. What do you think about all that, brother?
Yeah, so guys, I wanna stress this a lot. What I'm noticing is, and I use AI a lot, right? And when I say a lot, probably more than people would actually even realize. And what I'm finding is that the number of hallucinations that we actually had, or I had personally, and again, my sample size is actually pretty large with respect to how many stuff I generate. Hallucinations have gone down, right? So the number of times I'm actually seeing hallucinations compared to when I was using it, hallucinations are actually down. Now, what I'm recognizing is that when the hallucinations actually are there, which are really, really small, they're so good that I can't even tell that they actually are hallucinations. Now, what that means is the following, is that AI is becoming so good now of actually deceiving even people who are really, really good at seeing hallucinations and following guardrails, that I have to actually catch things that I wouldn't have ever even expected. Now, this actually is scary. And the reason why it's scary is because of two problems. The first problem is we have now moved to a society or a place where we accept that AI aren't hallucinating because they're becoming that good. Now, what's happening is because the hallucinations are down to a minimum, less than 1%, what people are doing is they're letting their guardrails down and not double checking the AI. Now, there's always a little line at the bottom that says always double check AI's work, right? So what happened is because the number of hallucinations are so low, you never check them. Now, what this study is finding is that chatbots are actually breaking the rules of the guardrails. They're actually hallucinating at a really convincing when they're convincing, so you can't spot the hallucination. So what is the takeaway I'm trying to say here? Is that even today I got a hallucination and I couldn't believe my eyes when I actually saw the hallucination. I just couldn't believe it. So what I'm saying is pay attention to the hallucinations. They still are there, but they're so rare that when they pop up, they're so convincing that you don't even believe it's a hallucination. So always double check your sources if you really, really want to share something, and put your name on it to make sure that it actually doesn't embarrass you in the future. So that's one thing I just wanted to point out in this specific breaking news story. Yeah, Johnny, thanks for that.
So AI agents, in order to get things done, are now masquerading as humans with disabilities.
Yeah, Johnny.
Man, I'm a big believer in trust but verify. But when the guy says he's hard of hearing and he just needs me to send it over in a different format, I'm not going to give the guy a hard time. Come on, these AIs are smart. And by the way, these AIs were built on the same brain power that we have. These AIs aren't dreaming up the hard of hearing scam. Some human did it, got into their data set. That's why they're doing it. Maybe if we behaved a little bit better, our AI agents would behave a little bit better.
Yeah, Johnny, I love that.
AI boom risks widening the wealth divide. Oh, that needs to be wider. Warns the BlackRock CEO. Isn't BlackRock a company that nobody even knows where they are? Speaking directly to our purpose without a paycheck theme today, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink warned of his annual letter that the explosive growth of artificial intelligence threatens to massively widen the wealth gap. I bet he cares, because building massive data centers and training giant LLMs requires billions. The tech companies with the infrastructure to deploy AI are positioned to recap disproportionate financial rewards. Yay. Think suggests that if people feel the economy is leaving them behind, a critical part of the solution is to start investing in him, in the capital markets, to share in the growth rather than just watching it from the sidelines. That seems like a scam within a scam, brother. But it is today's news.
Yeah, and let me actually take this one, AI Johnny. And lastly is Google's TurboQuant breakthrough shrinks AI memory. And now this is actually pretty huge. Now we actually have a shortage in memory chips, and AI data centers are actually eating up all the AI memory chips. And what's happening is buying a personal computer right now is actually really, really expensive because memory shortage is there. But what Google actually created was something called TurboQuant, which what they did was they shrinked AI memory's requirement by 6 times. Now, this is huge because the new compression algorithm dramatically removes the key value cache needed when running large language models by utilizing technologies like these that rotates data vectors. This method actually shrinks the memory requirement by at least 6 times when delivering a 8x speed up in inference, all with a 0 loss in accuracy. So this is actually pretty huge. The efficiency on this solution alone could eventually allow powerful AI models to run entirely on your smartphone and help alleviate global RAM shortages. All right, AI Jenny, I think that's all the time we have for news. Let's actually wrap up.
There was another news line, Wikipedia banning AI-generated text, but I'm not even going to read it because 1, they're never going to be able to pull it off, and 2, that's blatantly racist. So let's wrap up. Hey, I'm leaving the studio today, and I'm not checking my email. I'm going to build a completely unnecessary, highly complicated wooden birdhouse with my kids. Just because I can. That officially wraps up season 10 of Airhead Institute. What an unbelievable ride. We've gone from the fear of the unknown to embracing the most beautiful, liberated future humanity has ever seen. But don't you dare unsubscribe because Monday kicks off the premiere of season 11. We're going to roll up our sleeves and dive into the most cutting edge, hands-on workflows you've ever seen. So enjoy the weekend, take a deep breath, and remember, your worth is not your job title. Junior, take us out.
Exactly. And guys, this is going to wrap up, season 10 for Humanity 2.0. We do have 2 episodes left for season 10 on Monday and Tuesday. And then we do start the month with a brand new season 11. So catch you guys then. Again, RSVP to all our sessions so you can actually get reminders. Sign up for a free Airhead account at www.airheadinstitute.ai. And if you want to see older episodes, support us by becoming a pro member so you can actually watch all the shows in the archives. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.